Life doesn't wait for us to figure out our worth and moves forward with or without us. We've all been there chasing after people who don't reciprocate, waiting for that text that never comes or bending over backwards to please others who don't even notice. But tonight I want to ask you, how much longer are you willing to play that game? If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Ladies and gentlemen, think about that for a moment. Let it sink in. How often do we hand over the reins of our self-worth to others? How often do we beg for love, chase validation, and wait endlessly for someone to text us back? How much time have we wasted on people who don't see us, don't appreciate us, and don't reciprocate our energy? Tonight, I'm here to tell you one thing. If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you given people a front row seat to your life when they don't even deserve standing room access? How many times have you bent over backward, waiting for a response, a sign, or some kind of acknowledgement that you matter to someone who barely notices your effort? It's a painful reality to face, but the truth is, the moment you beg, chase, or compromise your standards to keep someone in your life, you lose a little bit of your power. And tonight, I'm here to remind you to take it back. Let me be clear, this is not about arrogance. This is not about shutting people out or building walls so high that no one can reach you. It's about alignment. It's about self-respect. It's about setting boundaries that protect your peace and energy so you can attract what's meant for you. The moment you stop begging for love, chasing people who aren't chasing you, playing games to get attention, you can begin to move differently. You shift from seeking external validation to radiating internal confidence, and that shift changes everything. Let's talk about begging. Begging in any form comes from a place of scarcity. It comes from believing that what you want is out of reach and you have to fight tooth and nail to get it. But here's the hard truth. Anything you have to beg for will never be yours in the way it's supposed to be. If you have to beg for love, you'll never feel secure in it. If you have to beg for attention, it won't be genuine. And if you have to beg for respect, then you're dealing with someone who was never worthy of your time to begin with. Chasing is no different. We live in a world that glorifies the chase, whether it's chasing relationships, careers, or material success. But when you're chasing something, what does that say? It's that thing is running away from you. It's not meant for you. It's not aligned with your actions. Real opportunities and real success don't require you to run yourself into the ground to get them. They come to you when you're prepared, focused, and walking in your truth. Stop chasing people who are inconsistent, invested, or indifferent toward you. The right people, the right situation, the right blessings will find you when you're standing still in your authenticity, not running after something that's slipping away. And texting, let's talk about texting. We live in a time when communication has never been easier, yet somehow it's never been harder to find consistency. You know what I'm talking about. The messages that go unanswered, the ones where you're left on read, or the conversations that drag on without substance. Stop giving your energy to people who make you question your worth. If they can't give you the respect of a timely response, they don't deserve your attention. And it's not about being petty or playing games. It's about valuing your time. Because time, unlike text, is something you can never get back. Speaking of games, let me tell you something. Games belong on sports fields, not in relationships or life. Too many people play games with others' emotions, their time, or their intentions. But here's the thing about games, nobody ever really wins. You might get a temporary sense of satisfaction, but about what cost? If you're spending your energy trying to decipher mixed signals, navigate someone's emotional immaturity is how to get someone to treat you right, you're already losing. The only way to win is to step off the field entirely. When you refuse to engage in games, you set a standard that says, I'm worthy of clear, honest, and respectful communication. The moment you stop begging, chasing, texting, or playing games, you take control of your life. You reclaim your energy and redirect it toward what truly matters, your growth, your purpose, and your peace. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You attract people and opportunities that align with the highest version of yourself. You create space for relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and genuine connection. You find fulfillment not in what others give you, but in what you give yourself. This isn't easy. It requires courage to let go of what doesn't serve you, to stop holding on to people or situations out of fear of being alone. But let me tell you this, loneliness is not the absence of people, it's the absence of connection. And you will never feel truly connected to anyone else until you're fully connected to yourself. So tonight, I challenge you to make a decision. Decide to stop begging for things that should be freely given. Decide to stop chasing people who don't see your value. Decide to stop waiting for texts that won't come or playing games that drain your spirit. Decide right here and now to honor yourself. When you do that, the world will stop setting a discount for you and start recognizing you as the masterpiece you truly are. If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Think about that statement. How often do we allow others to dictate what we're worth? How many times have you lowered your standards, bent your boundaries, or compromised your values just to feel wanted, accepted, or validated? Too often, we beg for love, chase people who are running in the opposite direction, wait for texts that never come, or play along in games that we didn't ask to be a part of. Tonight, I want you to think deeply about one question: when will you stop? There comes a time when you have to make a decision. Either continue to let life happen to you or take control of your own narrative. Begging, chasing, texting, and playing games are all signs that you've handed over your power. But here's the truth: nothing good in life is earned by begging. You don't beg for love. It's something that flows naturally when the connection is right. You don't chase people who clearly don't value your presence. Instead, you focus on yourself and let the right people gravitate toward you. You don't waste energy on someone who can't even return a message because your time is too valuable for that. And you certainly don't play games, because the moment you engage in games, you compromise your authenticity. Begging is one of the most demeaning things we can do. When you beg, you're essentially saying, I don't believe I'm worthy of this unless I prove it to you. But let me tell you something. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. If someone can't see your worth, they're not meant to be in your life. It's that simple. Begging leads to insecurity, frustration, and a cycle of always needing more than what the other person is willing to give. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, should not be built on one-sided effort. Love, respect, and attention should never feel like something you have to beg for. They should be freely given, or they're not worth having. Chasing is another trap many of us fall into. We've been taught to hustle to pursue what we want, to go after our dreams. But chasing people, that's a different story. When you chase someone, you're running after something that's moving away from you. You're exhausting yourself for something or someone that clearly doesn't value your presence. The energy you spend chasing others could be better spent on building yourself. Stop running after people who only meet you halfway when it's convenient for them. If they're not walking toward you, they're not for you. And let me remind you of this: the right people don't make you chase, they meet you where you are. Now let's talk about texting. In this digital age, communication is at our fingertips, yet so many of us find ourselves staring at a screen, waiting for a reply. And while you're waiting, you're overthinking, questioning your value, and wondering what you did wrong. Stop. If someone can't prioritize a simple text to acknowledge you, they don't value your time. And if they don't value your time, they don't value you. Texting may seem small, but it's a reflection of respect and effort. You deserve more than half-hearted communication or people who leave you on read without explanation. Value your energy. Don't give more of it to people who don't reciprocate. And the games. Emotional games, manipulation. Mixed signals, they're all designed to keep you off balance, to make you question yourself. But here's the truth about games, distraction. They pull you away from your purpose, drain your energy, and leave you feeling empty. The only way to win is not to win this deck gauge and focus on what truly matters: your peace, your goals, and your authenticity. Games are for people who don't know what they want. And you don't have time for that. So what happens when you stop begging, chasing, texting, playing games? Everything changes. You take back your power. You shift your focus to what really matters: yourself. You stop worrying about people who don't prioritize you and start attracting the ones who do. You create space for meaningful relationships, real opportunities, and personal growth. But this isn't easy. It takes courage to stop chasing. It takes strength to walk away from games. It takes self-respect to say, I deserve more. And truly mean it. It takes faith to believe that when you stop too hard to hold on to the wrong things, the right things will come to you. Remember this, you are the prize. You are worthy of love, respect, and effort without having to beg for it. You don't need to chase anyone to feel validated. You don't need to wait for someone to text you to feel important. And you don't need to play games to get attention. The moment you realize your worth, everything in your life begins to align. Stop lowering your standards to fit into someone else's life. Instead, raise them and watch how the right people rise to meet them. If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Take a moment to reflect on that. How many times have you allowed others to decide what you're worth? How often have you bent your boundaries, lowered your standards, or ignored your needs just to feel seen, wanted, or loved? Too many of us fall into the trap of begging for attention, chasing people who don't value us, waiting endlessly for a response, or engaging in games we never signed up for. But here's the truth. The more you do this, the more you distance yourself from your power, your peace, and your purpose. Tonight, I'm here to tell you it's time to stop. This is not about being closed off or arrogant. It's about knowing your worth and standing firm in it. When you stop begging for love, chasing people who don't prioritize you, waiting for texts that never come, or playing games to hold someone's attention, you reclaim your power. You begin to move differently, to act from a place of confidence and alignment, and that shift changes everything. The life you want doesn't come from chasing others. It comes from choosing yourself. Begging is where so many people lose themselves. When you beg for someone's love, time, or attention, you send a message not just to them, but to yourself that you don't believe you're worthy of it with asking for it. But here's what I need you to understand. Anything you have to beg for is never really yours. If you have to beg for love, you'll spend the entire relationship questioning whether it's real. If you have to beg for attention, you'll always feel insecure. If you have to beg for respect, you're dealing with someone who doesn't belong in your life in the first place. Relationships should not require you to lose your dignity, love, respect, and care freely given by those who value you. They are not earned through begging. Chasing is no better. Society has conditioned us to believe that chasing, whether it's people, opportunities, or success, is the way to achieve what we want. But let me ask you, when you're chasing something, what does that say? It says that thing is run away from you. It says you're expending all your energy on something or someone that is not aligned with you. Real connections and opportunities don't require you to run yourself ragged. Stop chasing people who give you breadcrumbs of attention or effort. Stop running after someone who only makes time for you when it's convenient for them. The right people, the ones meant for you, won't make you chase them. They'll meet you halfway, and their actions will match their words. And then there's texting. It seems small, right? A simple message, but how many times you stared at your phone waiting for a response that never came? How many times have you sent another message trying to keep the conversation alive with someone who clearly doesn't prioritize you? Stop giving so much of your energy to people who don't even take the time to acknowledge you. Communication is one of the simplest ways to show respect, yet it speaks volumes when someone consistently fails to do it. If someone can't give you the courtesy of a timely response, it's not about their busy schedule, it's about their lack of effort. Your time is valuable. Don't waste it waiting on people who don't value yours. Now let's talk about the games. Mixed signals, emotional manipulation, inconsistent behavior, these are the games the game of us get caught up in. But here's the thing about games, the only way to win is not to play. You can't force someone to be clear with their intentions, to be consistent in their actions, or to respect you. But you can decide not to engage. You can decide to protect your energy and walk away from anything that feels like it's pulling you into confusion or chaos. Games are for people who don't know what they want, and you don't have time for that. So what happens when you stop begging, chasing, texting, and playing games? Everything changes. You stop wasting your time on people who don't appreciate you and start investing in yourself. You create space for the right people and opportunities to come into your life. You begin to attract relationships that are built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine connection. And most importantly, you reconnect with your own worth. This isn't an easy shift to make. It takes courage to stop chasing what you think you need and trust that what's meant for you will find you. It takes strength to walk away from situations where you've invested your time and effort but haven't received the same in return. And it takes faith to believe that letting go of what doesn't serve you will make room for what does. But let me remind you of this: you are the prize. You are worthy of love, respect, and effort without having to beg for it. You don't need to chase anyone or play games to prove your value. The moment you truly understand your worth, you stop settling for anything less. Raise your standards and watch how the right people rise to meet them. If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Let that sink in. How many times have you allowed others to dictate your worth? How often have you compromised enjoyment or sacrificed your peace just to feel noticed or appreciated? Too many of us spend our energy begging for attention, chasing after people who don't prioritize, waiting for texts that never come, or playing along in games we never agreed to. But here's the truth. Every time you engage in those behaviors, you're stepping further away from your power and your purpose. This message isn't about arrogance or shutting people out. It's about self-respect. It's about recognizing that your energy, your time, and your heart are precious, and they shouldn't be wasted on people or situations that don't honor them. When you stop begging for love, chasing after people who don't see your worth, waiting for someone to care enough to respond, or playing games to get attention, you're not just letting go of bad habits, you're stepping into your power. Begging is one of the first signs that you've forgotten your worth. When you beg for someone's love, their time, or their attention, what you're really saying is, I don't believe I deserve this unless I fight for it. But let me tell you something, love that's worth having doesn't require begging. Respect that's worth receiving doesn't require pleading. Attention that's genuine isn't something you have to ask for. Anything you have to beg for will never truly be yours. Begging creates an imbalance, a situation where you're always the one giving, always the one trying, and always the one left empty-handed. And you deserve so much more than that. Chasing is another trap that too many of us fall into. We've been told our lives to chase after what we want. Chase success. Chase opportunities. Chase love. But here's the problem: when you're chasing something, you're running after, putting all your energy into something that's moving further and further away from you. Real connections and real opportunities don't require chasing. They come when you're aligned with who you are, when you're walking in your purpose. And when you're focused on your own growth. Stop chasing people who only offer you breadcrumbs of attention. Stop chasing relationships that drain you instead of uplifting you. The right people won't make you run after them. They'll meet you where you are, ready to walk beside you. Then there's the endless cycle of waiting for texts or messages. We live in a time when communication is as simple as tapping a button. Yet somehow it's become one of the greatest sources of frustration. How many of us have stared at our phones, waited for a response that never comes? How many times have you sent another message, hoping to spark a conversation with someone who clearly isn't invested in the same way? Stop giving your energy to people who can't even take a moment to acknowledge you. It's not about playing games or being petty. It's about recognizing that communication is a choice. If someone consistently chooses not to communicate with you, it's a sign that they don't value your presence. Don't waste your time waiting for someone who doesn't value yours. And then there are the games, the mixed signals, the manipulation, the inconsistency. You know what I'm talking about. Someone shows just enough interest to keep you holding on, but never enough to make you feel secure. Or they play mind games, keeping you guessing about their intentions. Games are exhausting, and the truth is, nobody really wins. If someone has to keep you off balance to maintain control, they don't deserve a place in your life. The only way to win the game is to walk away from it entirely. When you refuse to play, you set a standard that says, I deserve clarity, honesty, and respect. So what happens when you stop begging, chasing, waiting, and playing games? Everything changes. You stop giving your energy to people in situations that don't serve you, and you start pouring that energy into yourself. You create space in your life for the right people and opportunities to find you. You attract relationships built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine care. And most importantly, you rediscover your own worth. This isn't an easy shift to make. It requires courage to let go of what's familiar, even when you know it's not good for you. It takes strength to walk away from people who don't value you, even when you care about them. And it takes faith to trust that when you let go of what isn't meant for you, what is meant for you will find its way into your life. You are the prize. You are worthy of love, respect, and effort without having to beg for it. You don't need to chase anyone to prove your value. You don't need to wait for a text to know you matter. And you don't need to play games to get someone's attention. The moment you realize your worth, everything changes. Stop settling for less, raise your standards, and watch how the right people rise to meet them. If you don't know your value, the world will set a discount for you. Let that resonate deeply. Too often we let others dictate our worth, either consciously or unconsciously. How many times have you ignored your instincts, compromised your values, or adjusted your boundaries just to fit into someone else's world? It's a cycle that drains you, leaving you depleted, undervalued, and unappreciated. Many of us spend our time begging for attention, chasing after people who don't prioritize whilst waiting for replies that never come, or engaging in games we never signed up for. But the truth is, none of that is necessary, not for those who know their worth. This is not about arrogance or shutting others out. It's about stepping into your power. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and love are valuable and should only be given to people in situations that respect and cherish them. When you stop begging for love, chasing after people who take you for granted, waiting for someone to acknowledge you, or playing games to gain attention, you shift the dynamics of your life. You move from seeking validation to embodying confidence, and that shift changes everything. Let's start with begging. Begging is one of the most disempowering actions we could take. When you beg for someone's love, attention, or time, what you're really saying is, I don't believe I deserve this, I plead for it. But here's the reality, anything that requires you to beg will never truly belong to you. If you have to beg someone to care about you, to spend time with you, or to love you, that's not a relationship, it's a transaction. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, should never feel one-sided. Love and respect should flow freely, not as something you must fight for. Begging creates an imbalance that erodes in self-esteem and leaves you questioning your worth. Chasing isn't much different. We've been taught that chasing is a sign of determination. But when it comes to relationships, chasing is a sign of imbalance. Think about it, when you're chasing something or someone, you're putting all your energy into reaching something that's moving away from you. True connections don't require chasing. Real relationships don't make you feel like you're constantly running after someone who isn't reciprocating your effort. If someone values you, they'll show it through their actions, they'll meet you where you are. Stop running after people who give you the bare minimum. Stop chasing relationships where you're the only one putting in effort. The right people will be consistent, present, and willing to meet you halfway. Now let's talk about waiting. Waiting for a text or reply can feel trivial, but it's often a reflection of something deeper. How many times have you stared at your phone, overthinking a situation, waiting for someone to acknowledge your presence? How many times have you questioned your worth because of someone else's lack of communication? The truth is, communication is a choice. If someone consistently chooses not to make the effort to reach out, it's not because they're too busy or because some busy did something wrong, it's because they're not prioritizing you. Your time is valuable, and you deserve people who make you feel important, not people who make you doubt yourself. Stop waiting for someone who isn't showing up for you. And then there are the games, the mixed signals, the emotional manipulation, the hot and cold behavior that leaves you feeling confused. Games are designed to keep you all balanced, to make you feel like you're always one step behind. But here's the truth, games are a distraction. They're a waste of your time, energy, and emotions. When someone plays games, they're showing you they're not ready for clarity, consistency, or authenticity. The only way to win the game is to refuse to play. Walk away from anything that feels like it's pulling you into a cycle of confusion or chaos. Choose peace over uncertainty, and choose yourself over someone who can't be clear about their intentions. When you stop begging, chasing, waiting, and playing games, you reclaim your power. You stop giving your energy to people in situations that don't align with your values. You create space for the right people and opportunities to come into your life, people who respect you, who value you and who show up for you without hesitation. Most importantly, you begin to see yourself differently. You recognize that your worth isn't dependent on how others treat you, but on how you treat yourself. This transformation isn't easy. It takes courage to let go of what's familiar, even when you know it's not good for you. It takes strength to walk away from people and situations that don't value you, even when you care about them. And it takes faith to believe that letting go of what doesn't serve you will make room for what does. You are worthy of love, respect, and effort without having to beg for it. You don't need to chase anyone to prove your value. You don't need to wait for a message to feel important. And you don't need to play games to get someone's attention. The moment you realize your worth, everything changes. Stop settling for less, raise your standards, and watch how the right people rise to meet them.